Welcome. Good afternoons, friends, Rotarians. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Cincinnati and the beautiful Hall of Mirrors. We have a great program in store. Justin Brookhart is here. Justin is the executive director of Blink. Justin. As you can see, we're very excited about your presentation. Thank you for joining us. To start our meeting off today is John Farmeyer, who will lead the National Anthem, followed by Hux Miller, who will give our four-way test and invocation. John.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bumpers sting in air, came through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for our wonderful Rotary Club, for our friendships, for the opportunities to work together for a better world. Please keep us open to new opportunities to serve our fellow men both here and abroad. And we give thanks for Bafur Ocheri's safe return from our project in Ghana. And we give thanks for all the cultural life of our city, the music, the theater, and things that make our life more interesting, and especially for Blink. Amen. And let us now repeat the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
You may be seated. Thank you, Dr. Hux. Thank you, John. Next, I'd like to ask Dan Long to the podium to welcome guests and prospective members. Dan.
Thank you, President Steve. We have two wonderful guests today that are with us. Number one, coming in from Transformation CDC, which stands for Community Development Corporation, is Nancy Sullivan, a guest of Hux Miller. And number two, actually sitting at the head table, is Matt Fisher, who is an employee of Decal Impressions, who is the sponsor today, and thank Brian Vielhauer for stepping up to be the sponsor of today's meeting. And before I call Matt up, I do want to make just a quick announcement that at the end of the meeting, Mary Brandstetter and I are going to be handing out these little slips of paper. And on these slips of paper are the guest speakers, the four guest speakers that we have in August. And the purpose of this is to get everyone to think of a prospect that you might think would be a good person, make a good Rotarian. Think about it, take it back. This slip of paper is your reminder to get on the phone and invite somebody to a Rotary meeting. And with that, Matt, why don't you come up?
Afternoon, everybody. hand, thank you. For those that didn't hear, my name is Matt Fisher. I am the marketing director for Decal Impressions. Everybody get the newsletter with our little blurb in there? All right, good. I'll skip that. Quick show of hands. How many of you guys work with Decal Impressions? All right, good. Brian, you're making me look good. Thank you. How many of you guys haven't worked with Decal Impressions? All right, this is who I need to talk to. So, for the handful of you that don't know who we are printers, we are sign makers, we are problem solvers, we are marketers, we are innovators. Really, what we want to do is help your business succeed. So, for those of you that I haven't met yet, please come say hi afterwards. I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to hear Justin in a few moments. So, thank you all. Enjoy lunch.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Decal Impressions. You are a huge partner for this club, and we really appreciate your meeting sponsorship. Next, please welcome Kelly Collison to the podium for an announcement about the Corporate Member Roundtable. Kelly.
Thank you, President Steve. Hello, everybody. The Corporate Member Roundtable is busy planning the Rotary Year Imagine Rotary, and we would like to encourage all club members from our corporate membership companies to consider joining the Roundtable. The Corporate Member Roundtable Events Committee is engaged in planning informational panels and presentations to inspire and encourage you in your professional careers. Members of the Corporate Member Roundtable are welcome to join our events committee. We do this by Zoom call, and anybody who would like to do that to help support Club 17 can contact myself, Cheryl Parker, or Bob Will. To learn more about becoming a corporate member in Club 17, please feel comfortable to reach out to Brett LaBar and Jack Scott. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Corporate Member Roundtable. Now some general announcements. Birthdays. Please wish a happy birthday to the following members. 2 days ago, Ali Hussein and Charles Pierce. Happy birthday. As Charles likes to say, he said, "No one believes me. I'm 88 years old." Well, Charles, you look great for 88. I know you tell me to get my eyes checked, but you look great. And on August 1st, Mark Supine. Happy birthday, Mark. I think somebody should get that man a balloon. Our split the pot. Today's split the pot is $39 for our winner. The revolving pot is up to $264. Justin, would you mind choosing a winner? All right, $39 goes to, last four digits, 3117. $3117. All right, congratulations. Excellent. We're looking for the Queen of Hearts. Ooh, that really is so close. All right. A Rotary District announcement. Our district, 6670, is having a Dayton Dragons game. Rotary Night at the Dayton Dragons at Day Air Ballpark, downtown Dayton. This year's outing will be held on August 6th, 2022. Game time, 7:05 p.m. Tickets are $14, with $7 coming back to the district and donated to our End Polio Now campaign. You can use the link in the e-raise to sign up for your tickets. Rotary Century of Service. First of all, thank you for everyone who has already signed up for the Rotary 100th anniversary celebration at Camp Allen. Show of hands, who's already coming? Excellent, look at this. This is great, we're preaching to the choir here. Well, for anyone who has not yet signed up, there are two ways to do so. The first and easiest way is by far seeing Angie Ferguson. Angie, will you wave your hand and stand up and let everybody know where you are? Or Fred Fisher. Fred, you're taking reservations too? Excellent. Oh, and Mike too. Well, all right, there's a committee here of taking reservations. Excellent. See Angie after the meeting to reserve your tickets. However, the Rotary office has promised to also send out an email invite through the database system for everyone to sign up for tickets early next week. So if you haven't, you can look for that as well. Party starts at 5 p.m. on August 27th. Hot air balloon rides, surf and turf dinner, open bar, $45 a ticket. This is not a fundraiser, it's a celebration of 100 years of service. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is our marquee party event of the year. Thank you, Angie, and the committee for your efforts. Again, August 27th, 5 p.m. Family of Rotary, let us congratulate Jim Eichmann and his wife Cheryl on their 50th wedding anniversary on July 22nd. And in more somber news, we received notice from Rotarian Carol Notestein that her sister passed away. Please keep Carol and her family in your thoughts and prayers. Next, without any further ado, welcome to the podium President-elect Doug Bolton to introduce our program today.
Thank you, President Steve. And so in the spirit of not wanting to screw up anything that he's about to say to us, this is going to be the shortest introduction ever. So some of you probably have heard of Blink. I hope you have. But you probably maybe didn't know that Blink had an executive director. And the reason for that is because it's a brand new position that the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber, which owns Blink, created in order to expand and really, really scale the event to the level that you know the Cincinnati Chamber does with its events like Taste of Cincinnati and Oktoberfest. So let's give a warm Rotary welcome to this Dallas native who moved to New Orleans to go to school and then went back to Texas. So let's show him some Yankee love, please. Welcome, Justin Brookhart.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. It's really great. I'm going to borrow a little bit from my friend Matt Fisher and ask for a little bit of participation from the audience here. So give me a show of hands. Who has participated or attended a Blink in years past? Show of hands, all right, great. It's pretty good. Show of hands, who has never attended a Blink in years past? Don't be shy. All right, these are my people. I have also never attended a Blink before, so this is my first year in the role as executive director and my first year as an attendee and a person who's experiencing the event. I like to share that because, as Doug mentioned, I'm new to the region, just having moved up here from Austin, Texas with my wife, Erin, in January. We're actually just about to hit our 6-month mark as Cincinnati residents this weekend, actually. I can remember the date really well because it was January 29th, the day before the Bengals AFC Championship game. So very easy, very exciting time to be moving to the region. A lot of great energy, and I really got to see the city kind of culminate and celebrate around one of our institutions and our great sports team. And I think it kind of helped inform some of my early thinking when it comes to bringing Blink back this year, because I got to see the city again kind of rally behind something. With Blink, we rally around a gigantic public art event. So I have some slides up that I'll kind of go through here today. Don't feel like you have to pay too much attention to them. They're more to support some of the things that I'm saying. But for those of you that did raise your hand and are maybe a little bit less familiar with the event, Blink is a gigantic free public art event. We are an event that's meant to be free and accessible to everyone. And we're able to do a public art event at the scale that we're able to do by utilizing incredible world-class talent and technology to present public art on a massive scale. We do it through multidisciplinary art, working with mural painters that do large-scale mural paintings on some of our beautiful buildings here in Cincinnati. We work with international and local renowned projection artists to project animations and immersive art experiences onto those architecturally significant buildings. And we bring light and installation and interactive elements to the streets because Blink is really meant to be experienced in the rich urban core here we have in Cincinnati and in northern Kentucky. So I just like to remind people that's what we are. You know, it's kind of a big spectacle event, so sometimes people think of it as this like gigantic thing, but at the end of the day, we're a free public art event, no different than an event that you might go to in a park on a Saturday, but we do it on a much larger scale and we do it inside of an incredible cityscape. I also like to remind people that we're a regional event. Although Blink first took place inside of Cincinnati, in 2019, the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber really invested in making this a regional event by literally crossing the bridge over into northern Kentucky and expanding the event into Covington. We're really excited just the other week to announce that we are continuing to be a regional event and we're going to be returning to northern Kentucky and having installations in Covington this October. And that's really important to us for a lot of reasons. One, it's just kind of fun that we have a little bit more room to play around in. So we go over there and we play around with their architecturally significant buildings and we celebrate what's unique and special about the culture in northern Kentucky in the same way we celebrate that here in Cincinnati. And I always like to mention that we're free and accessible. This is an event that's meant to be for the people of this region and anyone else that can get themselves here come October. So you're going to hear me speak a lot today about how this is an event for you all, but it's also for your businesses to think about maybe bringing clients in for the weekend. If you're focused on talent attraction, I'd recommend bringing folks in for the weekend of Blink because you're never going to see the city more vibrant and more full of people than that. And so I really do like to let people know that this is the time. If you got relatives that haven't visited in a while, tell them to come in because there's going to be plenty to do. And again, all you got to do is get yourselves down to the main area where we host the event and you get to experience it alongside everyone else. And then, as was mentioned, this is an event that's meant to really build a lasting impact. We take place every, 2 years, and it's a 4-day experience. But the reason the Chamber has invested in bringing on an executive director is to think about how we build a lasting impact beyond that 4-day experience every couple years. So right now I'm focused on making October happen. That's the big goal. But beyond that, we're really thinking about how we build connections and relationships with people here in this community so Blink can live on and not just be that thing that only pops up every couple of years. So I wanted to talk to you all a little bit today about how we think about this event and why it's so important for this region. When I share what Blink is with people that are outside of this region, whether it's some of my friends back in Austin, Texas, people I know in the art world from New York to LA, they're so impressed that so many people turn out for an event like this. The fact that we had 1.25 million people over 4 days attend the event in 2019 is pretty special. And it really puts us on a map with a lot of other forward-thinking cities that do massive, scale events like this. We put a few up here just to kind of highlight the fact that we're benchmarking ourselves against world-class forward-thinking cities like Sydney, Australia, which hosts really the premier version of the type of event that Blink does called Vivid Sydney. But we also think about ourselves alongside places like London, like places in Berlin and Frankfurt and other world-class institutions. So that's a huge part of why we do this. I like to call Blink a nowhere else experience. It really only takes place here in Cincinnati because of so many unique things that we have here. We have this dense urban core area with intact, architecturally significant buildings that you can project and you can build onto. It's dense and walkable enough that people can get around and experience it. And we have a rich history of supporting the arts here in Cincinnati, which makes the event possible through our funding, both from philanthropic funders, our private corporate sponsors, and our public funding that we're receiving for the first time this year. And so thinking about us as that nowhere else experience, that we're that dot on the map when other people are thinking about places that do events like this. And we do it because it has a huge impact. You might ask yourself why the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber produces an art event. And the reason is because it has a significant impact on this region. In 2019, our economic impact study evaluated that it had about an $86.7 million total economic impact, both direct and indirect spending on this area. That came from folks that are, visiting us in from the suburbs, people that are, going out on a weekend that they maybe wouldn't have, and experiencing all of our great bars and restaurants and shops, booking hotel rooms, paying for parking, and that really led to a significant economic impact. So not only does it further distinguish the brand of Cincinnati in this region, but it drives literal dollars to our economy here. This year, we're really hoping to have even greater attendance. We had some lofty goals. We were really curious how big events like Cincinnati Music Festival that took place last week would really do. How are people coming out and experiencing the city? Are people traveling in? And what we've heard from our partners is that there was great attendance, great traffic, and that all those great local businesses did really well. So that's encouraging for us heading into October. And some of those goals we set are pretty big attendance numbers, and we're hoping to have an over $100 million economic impact this year. So that's a little bit about why we do it. I want to talk about how we think about the events and really why we're able to delight and inspire people the way we are. And then I'll do a little bit of show and tell to show you some of the great installations we're bringing this year before I answer some of your questions. The slide you see here is one of the biggest themes we use to think about Blink, and that word is discovery. We think about discovery, and we use this a lot. When the founding partners of Blink first came together to design this event, it was about discovering artists, discovering streets, discovering buildings, neighborhoods. It's about going out in the place that you live and looking up and experiencing something in a different light, literally. And so discovery is a huge theme for us, and we continue that theme this year by expanding a little bit in our map and our footprint. So for those of you that have attended Blink in years past, you're kind of used to the main area where things take place. We really always kind of hug that streetcar line really close here in Cincinnati. We're expanding a little bit more this year, so going a little bit further west than we've been in years past, a little bit further east. And we're doing that because, one, we want to make sure there's room for all those people that are going to be attending this year. Also with an understanding that social behaviors have changed a little bit since 2019 in light of the public health pandemic. So we want to give people a little bit more room to stand side by side. But we also just like to play around with new buildings and new installations for us. So that discovery is going to continue to be a huge theme for us. And it's the one that we get most excited by because we want to bring new things to this region every year that we do the event. The event that some of you may experience in 2019 is going to feel a lot different than the event that you're experiencing here this October. And that's because we're hoping you'll discover some new things with us along the way. The next thing that we really talk a lot about, and the reason that I think so many people care about this event, is that it is a shared experience. There aren't many times when you really get to go out of your house, stand on a sidewalk, look up at a piece of art and experience it next to your friends, your family, your neighbors, or just strangers alongside you. And that shared experience is so often what people tell me they love about Blink. They love getting the opportunity to go out and to see other people excited and experiencing the same thing alongside them. I've heard conversations from people that made friendships, that met their significant others. We had people get married in years past at Blink. And it's all about this communal celebration. Again, this region does it really well. I've now gone through about 6 months of seeing how this region likes to celebrate things, whether it's celebrating events with things like Bachfest or celebrating things at Taste of Cincinnati or other events. And what I've learned is if you give people a reason to come out here, they'll come out and celebrate things. But what's unique about Blink is they're celebrating this gigantic light and technology show, which is really why we're so excited to be working to bring it back. The other thing we think a lot about here is history and culture. How do we think about integrating the deep cultural history of Cincinnati in the work that we're working on? We do this in a few different ways. We work with a lot of great local organizations to figure out things that they're already doing to celebrate this, and we figure out how to bring them into the fold so that they can tell their story. So we're expanding a lot of things this year with Blink. We've had new collaborators, so expanding that circle of people who create installations for us this year. but also thinking about how when we're working with some of our world-class international artists to create installations, how do we connect them with local institutions? So figuring out how we can work with those collaborators but still connect things. I'm going to point a member out, if that's okay. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but Angie from Lightborn is here, and Angie is actually one of our collaborators on this year's Blink. We're working with an international projection artist named Wendy Yu. She's an incredible artist based out of Australia. But what Wendy does is she captures dancers in movement and animates and exaggerates their movement to project performances onto large buildings. And when we met with Wendy, she said, I love this, I want to do this, but I want to capture local dancers in Cincinnati. I don't want it to be the Australian friends that I always project and work with. Who can you put me in touch with? And so we reached out to Damien Hoskins and the team at Elements Hip Hop, and they helped curate the dancers. And then we actually reached out to our friends over at Lightborn and said, hey, we'd love to have Wendy, who lives in Australia, remote direct dancers that are here in Cincinnati. Can you help us? And so we went over to the Lightborn and Born Content Studio, did some remote capture, and that's going to be one of the many installations that you see this year at Blink. But that's just one way that we think about working with international artists, but still connecting to our local roots and celebrating what makes this region so special. Which leads me to my next point, which is really the uniqueness of this region. Like I said, you know, I'm someone getting used to Cincinnati, right? My wife is from this area, so I've been visiting since about 2015. I feel like I know it, but now that I'm a few months in, there's so many things that are unique and that are worth celebrating here. The fact that, again, we love any excuse to get out and celebrate things is a huge part of why I think an event like this is possible. In theory, any city could produce an event like Blink, but it really begs the question of why don't they? If it has an impact on the economy, if it grows a brand like that, why is it that Chicago isn't doing this, Pittsburgh's not doing this, there aren't events like this in LA? And it really is the unique makeup of the rich cultural history here and our deep support of the arts that I think makes this special, alongside those things like our urban core area, alongside the fact that we have so many talented artists and creators here because of our universities, because of our great corporate partners that bring in talent. There's really just so many reasons that Blink is possible, and it's only possible in this region, and I think that's important for us to celebrate. And one of my last points about kind of how we think about this event is we really think about it with a future vision. There's been this Future City Manifesto that's been a part of Blink since the very beginning. And the idea of the Future City is, what can we do now that helps inform the work that will be going on years from now? How can we think about new technology, new art forms? How can we be really presenting work in a way that tells people, hey, go discover this neighborhood so that maybe people will invest in it, and years from now, this is a more vibrant area for people to live in. Maybe we can retain more of our great talent here, and they're not feeling like there's a reason for them to leave. And so the future vision is a huge part of why we do this thing. And we think about the future city, and we think about, what do future cities have? They have engaging experiences that are accessible for all, and they do it in a way that has a grand scale and really helps illustrate the great technology and emerging art forms that are coming forward. So that's a little bit about the future city vision. My next slide is just my last one here, I believe. It's just on collaboration. I'll be honest with you, Blink is only possible because of incredible collaborators like the team at Lightborn, like Wendy Yu, like so many of the artists that we bring together. It's not possible because I'm here, right? Blink's taken place in years past, without an executive director. It's only possible because so many people raise their hand and say, I would like to be a part of this thing. And so, one of the things that you'll see this year is we're really trying to shine a lot more light on all those collaborators that make this event possible. And one of the ways that we did that was through a much more public call for artists. So in years past, the Blink team has directly curated all the work that takes place. But this year we said, what if we just ask for a show of hands of who wants to be a part this year? We think our brand is strong enough that the people in this region will raise their hands up, but we also think people from all over the world now know about this event and say, hey, we want to come and create work for Cincinnati and Blink, and that proved to be true. We launched our first public call to artists earlier this year. It was admittedly a much shorter call than I would typically like to do for this, but you're given the time frame that you're given to produce an event in October, and we launched it, and we had hundreds of applications, both from here in the region and all over the world, say, we'd like to create some work for you. And some of those artists just blew us away with their ideas and their inspiration. And so just opening that collaborative circle, inviting more people in so that we can work with them and we can show off, the world-class work is super important for us. And so I'm going to tease some of the installations and some of the things that you're going to see here today. I'll click through a few slides, and then I'll wrap up and answer any questions you may have. Some of these have been announced publicly. Some of these are a little bit of a teaser, so hopefully I don't get in trouble for anything that I put on this slide the other day. But we're working with some great mural artists on this. This is an artist named Chantel Martin. She's originally from the UK, but she's based out of New York now. Chantel is a world-class, both thought leader and artist. She's going to be bringing a mural to the Findlay Market region that we're really excited about, and she's engaging with the team at Artworks to have a youth engagement component where she's going to work with some youth apprentices to bring the project to life. Max Sansing is a Chicago-based mural artist that's going to be coming in and working with the team at Arts Wave on their Flow series, where they bring in prominent African-American artists from all over the world to represent their work here in Cincinnati. Pichiavo is another artist from Spain that's going to be coming in. It's really a duo, two artists that focus on both kind of the marble sculptural pieces that you see there and a little bit on sort of the more street art style graphics that you see. And then Add Fuel is a group that we're really excited about coming in. As you can see here, a lot of their work represents tile and mosaics. And what we found to kind of build in that local community and celebrate that uniqueness of the region is we're actually pairing them up with the Rookwood Pottery Company to work with some of their original tile work to represent a mural similar to what you see here, but with some original Rookwood installations as their inspiration. So really excited about some of the mural work. Case McLean from Germany is another artist that we're excited about bringing here. So a few others in the Spoon from Poland. So just a few of the projects we're really excited about on the mural side. The projections are the large-scale, building, projects that you often see with lots of lights and animation. And again, you're going to see a few names that are a little bit newer for Blink this year. I'll highlight just a few of them, but we have literally dozens of wonderful projection artists that are working for us for the first time. Up in the top right, you can't see it quite well without it in motion, but that's Wendy Yu's work. You'll see that she has kind of a cascading effect with some of her dancers. And again, we're just trying to work with a larger international pool of people. So these names may not mean too much to most of the people that are attending Blink, and that's okay. But what they help us do is benchmark ourselves against those world-class international art experiences that I shared with you all. So the last thing I'll share is a little bit of some of our lighting installations. These are kind of the larger sculptural light pieces that people interact with and experience a little bit more, and just a few fun teases of some of the ones that we're working with, both bringing some artists back that we worked with in years past, and then having some new international collaborations as well. In the bottom right there, you'll see This Is Loop, which is a really immersive experience, Time to Light, based on the UK, and that's going to be their US premiere at Blink this year. There in the middle, you'll see kind of the two hands forming the heart. That's a group out of Israel called OGE Group that we're excited to be bringing to Blink this year, and lots of other great installations that will kind of thrill and delight and just add to the vibrancy of the landscape as people are walking around experiencing art. So it's a little bit about that. The last thing I want to touch on is some people's favorite part about Blink. Has anyone attended the Blink parade in years past? Any show of hands? A couple folks. Anyone ever participated in the parade? Just curious. Oh, we got a couple people. All right, good, awesome. Well, thank y'all. We're launching the parade again this year. It's kind of our kickoff celebration for things at Blink. It starts on Thursday night. Around 7 o'clock. It's going to be taking place downtown this year. We have a new parade partner that we're working with, the team at Ish that produces the Ish Festival. They focus on some really great cultural traditions and really celebrate cultural and art in a really interesting way. But what I love about the parade is that it's really the community's place to see themselves inside of Blink. So you may not be a mural artist or a projection artist, you don't make lighted sculptural installation, but most folks can dress up in a fun lighted costume and walk in a parade. And so if you're interested in being a part of the parade, the applications are actually open now through Labor Day. So you can apply to be a part of the parade and receive a little bit of funding. The last group I'll talk about here is a new partner for us this year. It's a team called Cincy Nice. Billy and Destiny Thomas have their offices over in East Walnut Hills, and they're focusing on bringing so much more community and cultural activations to this year's event. So excited again to be expanding that partner group and just having more people involved in making this year's event really special. And they're going to be doing some fun things with their recently unveiled Black Music Walk of Fame, doing some great installations downtown, and bringing some of their experiences from 2019 back this year. So that's a little bit about the event. I always like to throw a little slide up about ways to be involved. Again, we're just under 80 days until this thing, so the opportunities to be involved are a little bit reduced, but there's still ways that you can be involved through our parade. If you are a part of an arts organization or a group that wants to plan an event around Blink, ArtsWave actually has a really great guide that they're opening submissions for, where you can apply to have your group or your event as a part of the sort of unofficial guide for Blink. So I recommend folks checking that out and telling our friends over at ArtsWave about anything that you're doing that you might want to add to a calendar so people can find you as they're walking around and experiencing Blink. And then the last thing, I'm going to turn to Matt a little bit again. We're working on what is our first kind of community toolkits. And we'll share a little bit more about this later this summer, but we're trying to provide inspiration and invitation for people to get involved in Blink if maybe they don't know how. So if you're a school teacher wanting to maybe do some, classroom programming around Blink, do some interactive coloring pages, teach kids about light art, those sort of things. We're hoping to have a little bit of inspiration for you. If you're a small business owner and you're thinking about, well, how do I make the most out of Blink Weekend? We really want to give you some ideas and inspiration for things that you can be doing. So these are going to be digital toolkits that you can download from the Blink website that we'll be launching later this year that just give you some inspiration because, again, the whole point of this is that it's collaborative, it's community focused. There's really only so many things that the core Blink team and I can produce, but if the whole region kind of rallies around the same way we rallied around the Bengals earlier this year, right? Where you put up orange lights or you hosted tailgates at your offices or those things. If we have that same kind of inspiration and idea around Blink this year, I think the impact and the community aspect of it can just grow even more. So this is my pitch for you to start kind of thinking about ways that you might like to get involved in Blink, whether not formally, informally. Maybe you just want to figure out a time for everyone from your office or workplace or community groups to go down together. Let's start thinking about really how to make the most out of this weekend because it is an opportunity for everyone. So that's just my little spiel on that and my nudge to Matt to make sure we design those toolkits out. So thanks. That's all I prepared and everything. I would certainly love to answer any questions that people have about this year's event, any of the things I shared, and just elaborate a little bit more. So feel free to stand up or raise your hand, and I'll be happy to call on you. Go right ahead. Yeah, that's a great question. So the question, just for those following along, was about other places around the world that have similar type of events and really what's unique about Blink and Cincinnati here as we kind of think about ourselves along those other places. Is that about right? Yeah, a few things. One, the biggest question that I get from anyone about this event is, how do you pay for it all, right? We're not a ticketed event. We don't charge anything for it. We never have an intention of charging for it. And so one of the things that's unique about this region that I think allows us in the United States to put on Blink, and that's really kind of similar, I guess, to some of the European and countries like Australia where Vivid takes place, is that we have great support of the arts here, both from our philanthropic partners, from our corporate sponsors. That's what allows us to bring an event at this scale to life here in Cincinnati. I don't have to tell you all that this is an expensive event to produce, as you might imagine. It's even more expensive than it was in 2019 to produce, right? And we're only able to fund the event at this scale because we have that great support. This year we're receiving public funds for the first time, which is something that's new for us and something that we're receiving through great partners at the county and through the city that are really investing in this and saying this is important for our tourism and for our economic impact. We want to bring it back. We want to make sure that it's brought back at the scale it deserves. So I know your question was a little bit about what's unique about us relative to them. I think what's unique to us here in the United States is that we have all those partners that are willing to share in the vision and make it possible. Oh, I see a question in the back. Oh, sorry. Sarah, if you're going to go ahead, please feel free. Yeah. I promise we'll come back.
Thank you for the presentation today. I got 2 quick questions. So, with you moving from Dallas, are you a Dallas Cowboy fan?
Come on now,
or a
come on now.
Bengal fan? I know you mentioned the AFC, championships. So.
Yeah. Great question. So the question was, moving from Texas, am I a Cowboys fan, or how do I feel about the Bengals? I'll share that I grew up in a Cowboys household, but I married into a Bengals family. So my wife and her family, diehard Bengals fan. My father-in-law is a Bengals season ticket holder. Yes, definitely Houday all the way. Yeah.
I like your family a little bit more now.
Great, great.
All right, so second question is, with so many people, you anticipate so many people being downtown, are you selling like vendor spaces or anything without like people walking around? I know the shops and the restaurants will be open, but are you going to have booths set up for people to partake in stuff while they walk along the path?
Yeah. So when it comes to, and I'm guessing I don't need to repeat the question now that we have a microphone. Is that okay, sir? Okay. All right, great. It was a little bit about like vendors and folks that are wanting to get involved. So we will have applications launching actually later next week for food vendors that are interested in being a part of Blink. So we want to make sure there's, lots of people on the street, everyone's getting fed. We know that the bars and restaurants are going to do good business, but we want to make sure there's lots of folks there. We don't do a lot of traditional other vendors inside of Blink because most of the Blink experience is meant to be walking, experiencing the art, and so we're not going to do a lot of things for like what you would see at a traditional kind of street fair or anything like that. I think she's going to pick people.
So when Blink came the last time, I had a junior in high school, and I was surprised to find out that some of her friends, when I asked her if she wanted to get a group of friends and come down, she had a lot of friends who grew up within 20 minutes of Cincinnati but had never been downtown. Both they and their families were afraid of them walking around, and they were concerned about security. So it took some arm twisting, but we got a hotel room and we spent the night, and I really, whatever. But my question is there a security concern after what we experienced in 2019? Were there any issues, and if so, how are those handled?
Yeah.
Just for the future conversations.
No, it's a great question, and just know that any leader of a large-scale public event like this, like security and safety is the #1 priority. It's candidly the thing that keeps me up at night. It's the first thing we tend to think about, in the mornings. Things that we're doing to help ensure that. This year, again, wanting to expand our footprint a little bit to give people a little bit more room. I think the amount of people on top of one another in 2019 was a concern. But we're meeting regularly with our safety officials from CPD, from Fire Department, Department of Transportation, everyone that can help us and be more informed about how we move this many people through a space like this is really important. You're going to hear a lot more from us this year than you probably did in 2019 about how to think about moving in these spaces and how to kind of curate the experiences in a way that will help, create good outcomes for everyone. So I'd say stay tuned a little bit for that. I'd love to hear any thoughts or ideas anyone in this room has, now or later. I'm happy to stick around on any specific concerns around public safety. But we have a unique situation this year where there's, a public health issue and a public safety issue. So we're trying to think through all those things. And the thing I can do as a leader most is rely on those great, great leaders and experts in those fields to help inform the work that we're doing. So we're engaging early and often with people that can help inform that work.
In 2019, when I attended Blink, I think my wife and I saw maybe 30 to 40% of it. What would be wrong with filming the entire Blink experience? And you could begin starting now, have something that would be available for us to purchase on our iPhones for $10, and then you'd have some money available for a bonus to the executive director.
Listen, I like the way you think. Thank you. No, that's so great. It's a concept and a model we think a lot about, right? I really like it. What was that? Sorry. I like the bonus idea especially. I'll make sure to note that one down. But one, content capture is really important for us this year for a few reasons, both for what you shared, which is it's really hard to experience everything that we do, even if you came out all 4 nights of the event and you really had your walking shoes on and covered a lot of the space. It's candidly going to be hard for you to experience everything inside of Blink. And I think that's a little bit of a challenge for people. And so we're making sure we're capturing content of the installations a lot better this year to share, not just for people that maybe can't experience everything, but those people that can't get themselves down here. So those folks that have accessibility issues, those folks that maybe have mobility concerns, those folks that just feel like they're not ready to be inside of a large public event as much this year. We haven't quite thought about like a premium model that will allow us to like capture literally everything, but certainly capturing a lot more and sharing it with people, both leading up to the event and then during the event, and then having some great content capture on the website after the event. Yeah. Thank you. Please.
We always think of Blink as mostly light shows, but there are a lot of murals also being created.
Yeah.
And are those going to be permanent? I mean, will we be able to see those a year from now?
Yeah, great question about our mural program. So you're right, there's a lot to Blink beyond just the lighted installations, the giant projections. We have very, kind of quietly, I might say, on a global scale over the last 2 Blinks, added some of the most world-class and renowned mural artists to the public art program that we have here in Cincinnati. As many of you know, public art in Cincinnati has a deep history. One of Blink's partners, the team at Artworks, has been doing a fantastic job with their public art over the last 25 years. And really, when Blink thinks about doing that, we really focus predominantly our mural program in the Findlay Market area. The reason we've done that is because we took some models from other cities, cities like Miami, where they have their Wynwood Arts District, cities like Denver that has their Rhino District, where they have a lot of their public murals. And we said, what if we, in addition to all the great other public art that's in Cincinnati, really concentrated around the Findlay Market area and put up art that maybe told people, hey, maybe don't just come to the market and then leave. Maybe come to the market and then like walk 1 street over. And so that was kind of our focus in the first year, just going 1 block, 1 street over. Then in 2019, we said, okay, let's stretch a little bit further and go a little bit beyond that. And then this year, we're actually going to be adding a total of 17 new murals, predominantly in that Findlay Market area, a few in some outlying areas. You're going to see on our map that it's even a little bit further outside that area. And again, that's just to kind of try to influence behavior a little differently until people go out and experience the public art. Our murals are meant to last. There's certain things that you can do to ensure the treatment and protection of those materials on a longer timeline. I was just having a conversation yesterday with one of our partners talking about how after this year's event in October is over, we need to do a little bit more fundraising so that we can preserve and treat some of our murals a little bit longer so they're lasting beyond just 3 to 5 years. They're hopefully lasting 10 plus years, and we have those funds to restore them over time. Yeah. Great question, thank you.
Since the Chamber's become involved with Blink, has the original artistic founders of Blink still involved with it?
Yeah, so Blink has like a unique origin, and I've you hear a lot of origin stories when you come into something that you didn't help build. I like to say I inherited this thing that's pretty magical when I stepped into my role as executive director. And there's a few key parties that were involved in the original formation of Blink. Tim Maloney at the Hale Foundation really being at the forefront of those. And he worked with a few other partners, the team at Artworks, the team at Agar, and the team at Brave Berlin, to kind of come together and say, here's how we could have this interesting multidisciplinary program. And that team was also looped in with the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber, who was brought in because the Hale Foundation thought they needed a nonprofit partner who was used to producing large-scale events like Taste of Cincinnati, Asian Food Fest, Oktoberfest, all those other great events that the Chamber produces. And that's really kind of how the partnership was formed. And then in years past since then, those producing partners have come back and helped make the event possible. This year we did have the departure of one of our founding partners. The team at Brave Berlin decided to exit the program earlier this year in March. And as I mentioned, there's some new partners that we've had come on this year as well. So I think, founding things is unique and interesting, and evolving them over time allows for some different voices and some different collaborations as well. Yeah. Great question. Thank you. Other questions? Yeah.
So Justin, how did you find out about this job?
Oh, great question. I love this question. So how did I find out about this job? And how did I decide it was the right job for me? Great question, and thank you for asking. So I mentioned I've never attended a Blink before, but I first heard about Blink in 2019 from some of my wife's friends that live here, Ashley and Chris Wright, who live over in Ludlow, Kentucky. My wife Erin went to college at the University of Kentucky with Ashley, and anytime we come to Cincinnati, we always hang out with them. They have a great young family, very vibrant life. And it was on their social media in 2019. Ashley and Chris were out and just sharing pictures and videos from this art event that I knew nothing about, but I saw thousands of people lining the streets. I saw just these incredible lighted installations, and I said, what is this thing? And I turned to my wife Erin and said, we got to get ourselves to Cincinnati the next time they do this thing. I never imagined I'd be coming back in the role of executive director to experience it for the first time, but that's really when it first got on my radar, was in 2019. And so I started following along and just heard a little bit about Blink over the years. But it was last September when the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber posted the job. Jill Meyer from the Chamber did a Cincinnati Business Courier article about the position. It happened to hit across my LinkedIn profile, and I said, oh, Blink, that event that I've heard so much about, they're hiring their first executive director. I wonder what they're looking for. And I read a little bit about the job description and turned to my wife Erin and said, this is really interesting. We had never really planned necessarily to move to Cincinnati. It was a city we've always enjoyed. But in reading a little bit about what they were looking for, someone that knew how to grow and evolve creative enterprises, someone that thought through how to work on public-private partnerships and how to develop brands over time, and someone that had a passion for leading something that has such a weird formation or weird structure to it. I don't know, I was excited by the opportunity, and so I applied and met some of the partners involved in Blink and talked to a lot more friends here in the area. And it was honestly talking to those people that were involved, but also talking to those people that I knew here and just asking them about Blink. I would just ask, like, hey, do you know about Blink? And the common response was like, yeah, of course, everyone knows about Blink. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting for an art event that it has that much awareness in the region. So I went through the process, and the more I heard about what they were looking for, the more I felt like, hey, that sounds like that could be me. But I came up here in October of last year for sort of a final interview process. And it was just a perfect weekend. We walked around the city, happened to have good weather that weekend, which never hurts, and just experienced things. And again, I would just talk to our Uber drivers or our Airbnb host or whoever it was and just chat a little bit about the event. And hearing how much people cared about it was really the final selling point for me, where I said, like, hey, I feel like this is worth picking up our lives and moving from Austin to be here in Cincinnati and help bring it back. And so that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Other questions? All right. Well, thank you all so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's great meeting so many of you.
Justin, thank you so much. Wow. 2 million people. That's going to be amazing. I can't wait for October. The light and the art and the magic that you're bringing. I love the idea of a shared celebration. It sounds really great. I want to say thank you on behalf of the Rotary Club for your efforts to making this a very vibrant city. And appreciation of that, we have a token of our appreciation. This is a Rotary Club of Cincinnati coin, Justin. On one side it says the Rotary Club of Cincinnati. On the other side it says the 4-way test. And it's kind of our way of making this a better city. And in addition, in recognition of your presentation, we're going to make a donation to the End Polio Now campaign. It's a multi-decade effort to eradicate wild polio from the planet. And we're this close. There are only 14 cases left on the planet of wild polio. And with your help, we're going to try to eliminate it forever. So let's give him another round of applause. Few final announcements. 3 committee meetings today. Camp Allen 100th year celebration, Salon F on the 4th floor. World Affairs Committee is in the Julep Room here on the 3rd floor. And Women in Rotary Committee, Boardroom 3 on the mezzanine. Next week, our program features Don Lothrop. Don is the founder and chairman of Colina Nua, a real estate development company. Don is building an environmentally sustainable community in Romania, designed to attract families seeking an alternative to urban and suburban living. You don't want to miss his presentation. Until then, make it a great week. Meeting adjourned.